What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily. So Apple's budget iPhone is finally here, and yeah, I use the term budget loosely because it's still $750, but for people who can't quite stomach a four-figure price tag for a phone, but who still want to be a part of Apple's ecosystem, the new iPhone XR is a pretty interesting option. This isn't Apple's first budget device. They sold the iPhone SE for a while, but before that they had the 5C, and the fun color options on the XR really mimic what we experienced with that phone a few years ago. And it might sound weird, but the color options alone on the XR could be enough for some people to already want to go out and pick one of these up. I've got mine in that product red color, which in addition to just looking really awesome, also helps the global fund to fight AIDS, which Apple has been a part of for a while now. I'll spare you the rest of the unboxing because it is exactly the same as a XS from a few weeks ago, and I'm sure you don't want to hear me complaining again about how the included 5-watt power brick sucks, and how not having included a lightning to headphone adapter is super cheap on Apple's part, but hey, I said it again anyway. Holding this device in my hand for the very first time, it's immediately obvious that there's nothing cheap or budget about this phone at all. The XR really is everything you'd expect a 2018 phone from Apple to be. It's a premium all-glass build, which yes, will still crack and shatter when you drop it, no matter how strong Apple tells you it is in their keynote, and along the sides, you get this really nice brushed aluminum edge that matches the rest of the phone. On some of the other iPhone XR models, the aluminum edge color is a little different shade than the glass, which makes it more obvious, but here on the red, it blends in really well, and that's another reason why I chose this color in particular. I think Apple's choice with the size of this phone really threw off a lot of people, me included. It falls in between the XS and XS Max with a 6.1-inch screen. It's also a bit thicker and chunkier than the XS and XS Max, and it's almost as heavy as the XS Max too, so if you were hoping for a small phone, this just isn't it. The 6.1-inch Liquid Retina HD display has been, I think, the most polarizing feature of the XR and a point of contention amongst a lot of people. It's a strange 1792 by 828 resolution LCD display, so not only is it not quite a 1080p display, it's also LCD, while the XS and XS Max rock an OLED panel. For those of us heavily involved in the tech game, who regularly get hands-on time with a lot of different phones and who notice the little things, Apple cheaping out on the screen is kind of a big deal, but in practice, it's not really a big deal at all. The screen looks fine in any app, and even watching movies or videos, which yes, still play in 1080p, still look fine. For the average consumer, for just the regular person walking into the store and picking up this phone, I don't think they'll notice a difference between the display on the XR and the display on the XS. However, if you really want to analyze it with like text, in particular black text on a white background for example, you will notice some pixelation on the XR that you won't see on the XS. Another noticeable difference with the front of the XR is the slightly larger bezels along the screen. Side by side with the XS, you can certainly tell the difference, and once again, for those of us who have been using a 10 or a XS pretty regularly now, it's going to seem like a big difference, but I don't think it's that big of a deal in practice. Aside from the screen, the other major compromise made with the XR versus the more expensive phones is the single rear camera. The XR packs a 12 megapixel rear shooter, but overall you're still getting the same features and capabilities here. You've got 4K video shooting at 24, 30, and 60 FPS, 240 FPS slow-mo, and you've even got the same portrait mode options here as well. The difference being that the XR will rely a bit more on the software to take those pictures rather than having the dual lenses like the XS. Up front, you've also got the same true depth camera system for portrait selfies and Face ID too, so no compromises there at all. I think one of the most surprising things about the XR is that Apple did not cheap out on really any of the internals. With the XR, you've got the same brand new A12 Bionic chip that's found in the XS and XS Max. And while you do get 3 GB of RAM versus 4 in the other phones, performance here is silky smooth and lightning fast. You've got a nearly 3000 mAh battery inside, which is just a hair under what the XS Max packs, and the only other thing I can think of that's a little different from the other phones is an IP67 water and dust rating rather than IP68. With the XR on the market now, and likely to be one of the most asked for devices for the holiday season, it sort of begs the question, who is this phone really for? In my opinion, the XR is not a phone for someone who has last year's iPhone X. It's just not an upgrade from that phone. The XR really is for the people who rock an iPhone 7 or older, or maybe even an iPhone 8, and just don't want to spend $1,000 plus on a new device. For those people, the pre-iPhone X folks, I think this is a really solid upgrade for them, and it's sort of Apple's way of getting them over to the home buttonless, texture-packed Face ID iPhone. And don't get me wrong, $750 is still a lot here, but considering how little Apple compromised with this device, I don't think it's a bad purchase at all and might just be the perfect phone for a lot of people. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know your thoughts on the iPhone XR in the comments down below. Also, be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.